Hi guys, welcome to week 5 of Journey with Jesus. If you've been following along in the story with Jesus for a couple weeks now, or if today is your first day, welcome. We're so glad to have you, and today's a great day to get to check out the story of Jesus. We are looking at Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11 today, and it's the story of Jesus calling some of the first disciples to come and follow him. So you've got Peter, James, and John. Peter is also called Simon here because Peter is actually a nickname that Jesus gave to Simon. So he's called Simon here. And they're out fishing all night. They're fishermen. They've been out all night. They haven't caught anything. Can you imagine fishing or doing something all night, working on something all night and having nothing to show for all of your labor? That's got to be super frustrating, right? And then they're on the shore, they're washing their nets, they're packing up, they're getting ready to go home. And Jesus comes and he's looking to start teaching all these crowds, but they're really close to him. He needs to find a way to kind of make some space and back up from them a little bit so that he can talk to the whole group of people and not be all clumped in with them. And so Jesus asks Peter to take him out on the boat just a little bit away from the shore so that he can get some space to be able to talk to the whole crowd. And Jesus begins teaching. He's probably teaching a lot of the same things that we see him teaching throughout the different Gospels. So things like the Sermon on the Mount. You've heard it said, don't kill your neighbor, or don't murder, right? But I tell you, if you speak hateful words or have anger in your heart towards someone, it's like you've murdered them in your heart. You've heard it said, an eye for an eye or a tooth for a tooth, but I'm telling you, love your neighbors and pray for those who persecute you. And so it's just super challenging teaching, right? And when Jesus finishes, he looks at Peter and he's like, hey, why don't you guys take your boats out into the deeper water and let the nets down and see if you catch anything. And right, this isn't like a hobby for Peter and James and John. This is their job. This is how they survive and make their livelihood. They know how to fish. They would have gone out at the most productive time, at the most productive space of the water. They know what they're doing and they're not fooling around, right? And so can you imagine having this teacher come to you and be like, hey, I know you've been out all night. I know you haven't caught anything. I know that this probably isn't the best time to go fishing, but just go out and see what happens, right? You probably might be thinking what are you saying? Everything in your head, all of your previous experiences are telling you this is not going to work. But here's what Simon Peter says. He says, Master, we've worked hard all night and we haven't caught anything. But because you say so, I will let down the nets. And so Peter decides to set aside all of the logic. He decides to set aside his previous experiences. He decides to set aside what he thinks would be best and to just trust Jesus and listen. And so they put the nets down and suddenly they're beginning to fill with fish. There's so many fish that they can't even get them into the boat. They have to call another boat to help them. And then both of those boats begin to sink and fill with water. And so they're making their way back to the shore and they get there and Peter gets out and he just falls down at Jesus' feet. And he's like, dude, get away from me. I'm a sinful man. Because you can kind of imagine, right? Peter's been listening to what Jesus is teaching. And it's challenging stuff, right? He's probably listening and going, I am so far from perfect, and I'm so far from the way that that you're telling people to live. And he is wrestling with that, right? He's like, dang, I'm sinful. And then he sees Jesus do this super miraculous work, and he's like, and you're powerful. You're not some ordinary human. Something's different about you. And if you really knew who I was, you'd know how unworthy I am to be near you. And so you just need to go. You need to leave, let me be. And Peter kind of tries to distance himself and tries to hide, right? Have you ever been there before? Kind of feeling am I worthy of following Jesus? Does Jesus want me around? Am I worth having around? If he really knew who I was, if he really knew the things that I thought, if he really knew the ways that I felt, the things that I did when nobody else is looking, would he still want me? Check out Jesus' answer to Peter. He says, don't be afraid. From now on, you will catch men. So they pulled their boats up on shore, left everything, and followed him. Jesus knows exactly who Peter, James, and John are. He knows that they are going to be a mess, right? He knows that they're going to deny him, and he knows that they're going to battle over who's the most important, and he knows how cranky they're going to be and all the different things that are going to go wrong. Jesus isn't like unaware of how sinful they are. He knows. And he calls them anyway, right? Jesus calls them knowing full well that they are sinful human beings. And he still desires to bring them with him and to change them. He's going to change them from being fishers of fish to fishers of men. And he's going to bring them on mission with him. And so we can have confidence that when we're looking at Jesus and going like, man, like I don't know if I'm worthy of being near him. I don't know if he would want me, because if he really knew who I was, would he want me to be part of what he's doing? We can have confidence knowing that Jesus knows exactly who we are, and he still calls us to follow. He still wants us. He desires to be with us. He desires to change us, and he desires to make us part of his mission to go share the gospel, to share the good news of what he's done all over the world. And I think it's super interesting, right? They pull everything back up on shore and they leave it all behind to go follow him. So a couple of questions for you today. What things are keeping you from feeling like you're worthy of following Jesus? Maybe take some time to bring those before Jesus and say, hey, I have these things that make me feel like I want to kind of hide from you and make me feel like you wouldn't want me. And I just need to bring those before you, and I need you to help. I need you to remind me that you love me and remind me that you still want me to follow you. The second question is, lots of times following Jesus means that we're going to have to leave something behind. And so what is it that Jesus is calling you to leave behind, maybe even just this week, as you're looking to follow him and be changed by him and be on mission with him? Thanks, guys. Hope to see you soon. Bye.